Started. Welcome everybody to we're on week 7, right? Yeah,
Yep.
week 7 of Academy. I can't believe we only have 3 weeks left after this week. This week is going to be straight fire. This is so good. So we have John Marrone, and he is an expert in sales and in leadership. So you are about to be taken on an adventure unlike any you've seen so far as you've gone through the academy, right? Super interactive. John is high energy and has just an absolute fire story. So I hope he told everybody have your pen and paper ready to take notes because he's going to have a ton of information for you. Thankfully, there's going to be a replay. And then John will also be available to you guys. You're going to love him. He's the best. He is so amazing. And we're so lucky to have him talk to us tonight. So welcome, John.
What is going on? Thank you so much for having me. I'm super grateful for the opportunity to go ahead and hopefully impact some people tonight. So let's see. Am I good? Am I on the full screen or?
Yeah, it's following the active speaker. So you're the active speaker. So that means that they're going to be looking at you.
Awesome. Yeah, no. So if you want me to keep going, then we can go right into it. I just want to make sure that everybody's on who needs to be on, and let's rock and roll. So let me go ahead and just make this a little bit bigger, my view, just so it doesn't screw me up. Perfect. All right. So guys, appreciate everybody jumping on. The amazing introduction Julie talked about. What I really want to do is first, I want to applaud everybody that's on here. We're a week away from Christmas, and I know you guys probably are distracted right now going, oh my God, I got Christmas stuff I got to do, right? I got to prepare for the end of the year. So this is what I want you to do right now. Before we dive in, we got 90 to 120 minutes together. And what I want you to do is I want you to just take a second. I want you to look around and see what can distract you and get rid of it right now. So if you got multiple tabs open on your computer, shut it down. If you got your phone flipped like this, I want you to shut it down. I want you to put it away. And here's the reason why, guys. In the next 90 minutes, I promise to deliver actionable tools for you to go ahead and create a lasting impact and lasting change in your life and in your business. We're going to talk about leadership. We're going to talk about sales. We're going to talk about how it all integrates. But I need you here with me. And I know it's so easy in a virtual setting to get distracted. But you guys paid to be in here. You guys are taking your time to be in here. So let's really be here. So if you guys could do that in the chat, let's get this thing going. If you guys could do that, let me see it. Let's grow in the chat. And as you guys do that, let me tell you a little bit about my story, right? When I always talk about the context behind the content. And see, growing up, I grew up in a very addictive household. They were addicted to drugs. They were addicted to bad decisions. They were addicted to a lot of things, obviously, that did not benefit them. And as I got older, I unfortunately took those same addictions on. I was addicted to drugs. I was addicted to fighting. I was addicted to being accepted. I was addicted to not being judged. I was addicted to all these things that were non-empowering. And I just wanted to find my way, right? Like, I just wanted that acceptance. We all have these human needs, and one of mine was to be accepted like everybody's. And I just searched for it. I hung out with the jocks. I hung out with the musicians. I sang in a band, right? I hung out with every crowd to see who would accept me. Well, what I found out is that they accepted me, but they accepted me as a fighter, as a drug dealer, as a drug addict. That's how they accepted me. That's what they said I was best at. And see, as humans, we follow through with who we believe we are most. And unfortunately, that's who I believed I was. And because of that, I had to keep that acceptance going. And it became an addiction. And it winded me up living in my car, right? Couch hopping. And then ultimately in jail. And then I got out of jail. I'm on house arrest and I'm living in motels. And I met my now wife who showed me what it's really like to be accepted for me, right? Even though I try to sabotage the relationship, even though I try to sabotage my life over and over again, because that's what my pattern was. We all have these patterns that have been built over time. And it doesn't take a day. It doesn't take just one breakthrough to change it. There's these gurus out there that are going to say, you're going to have one breakthrough moment. Everything's going to change. No, it's not. right? You could see things differently, but the things don't change overnight. Change is gradual. Decisions happen overnight. I'll repeat that. Decisions happen immediately. Change is gradual. And so as the change started to happen, I started getting a little bit better, right? I was running a sales and marketing firm. I was doing a little bit better in my habits. And then I met a gentleman by the name of Pat Necarato. He's a great Christian man. And he said, John, I'm going to show you how to create massive impact on people's lives, on how to show them how to sell better. And I was already a good salesman. I used to selling drugs at 12 years old. So of course I was a good salesman. And he goes, but I'm also needing you to do something. And I said, what's that? He said, well, the first thing is realize that the life you're living can be so much more, can be so much bigger. So as we're teaching you how to impact others, realize that you need to impact yourself and make some small changes that create a big difference. And I said, absolutely. Then the next thing he said was, make sure you give back the knowledge that you receive here by working here and by building this company to others. Now, guys, I said yes because I had one thing on my mind: income, right? Income solved all my problems, so I thought. You know, growing up, we were rich on Fridays and broke on Mondays. I don't know if anybody grew up with parents like that, but they had a lot of money on Friday with no money on Monday. We didn't know when our electric was going to be off. I went many, many nights with no lights, no electric, living in a tent. There's many obstacles that we had to face growing up, but it was because of the bad decisions. And so Pat said, listen, I want you to give the knowledge so people can make better decisions. And I said yes because of income. Well, 2 years go by. Make a lot of money, a lot more money I was making. Helped a lot of people. I started making some changes, but that wasn't it. See, October 28th, 2012 was really the big, what I call Quake moment. You know, those moments that rumble you, shake you, wake you up a little bit. I call them Quake moments. And it was Hurricane Sandy paid a visit to the Jersey Shore. And we lived on the Barrier Islands, right? So we lived on next to all bodies of water. And they said it was voluntary evacuation. Now I'm from Jersey, which means I'm stubborn as hell, right? I'm Italian. I'm from Jersey. That's an evil combination to be stubborn. And so we stayed, right? Because I knew everything. It's not going to hit us, right? John Marrone knew everything. Well, we stayed. And by staying there was actually the best thing to happen to us. And that night happened like this. We went outside at 7:00 at night. Wind is whipping, whipping. Right? All of a sudden, no rain, but all of a sudden we're sitting there in the living room, in the bedroom, and in the living room, we see a trickle of water. This is at 8:00. Remember, only an hour apart from when we were just outside. And we look, there's water trickling. So we get up, walk outside, open the doors, and there it was. 5 feet of not just water, but roaring rapids. We had boats flipped upside down, pieces of docks smashing in houses. And within minutes, the water cracked through the foundation and started filling up our place. Now, mind you, we just got this new house. We rented, but it's our first house. We were staying in motels and 600 square foot places for a while. And we just got this new house 3 weeks prior. So as the water is filling up, I'm putting up our new furniture, right? Like where my mindset was. But finally, we get everybody up into the attic because I took my mom and my dad from their motel to stay with us that night. Well, the ladder is down from the attic. It's a 1-story, and all of a sudden the water's rising rung by rung by rung, or then the trees smashing into the roof. Remember, there's 150-mile-per-hour winds out there. It's a superstorm, and the water's rising, and the trees hitting, and the water's rising, trees hitting. And I look back at my family, and I said something I've never said in this kind of context, and it was, what kind of impact have I made? What kind of impact have I made? And that was a surprise for me because remember, I was all income driven. And I said, when I get out of here, I'm going to be impact first and income second. Well, fast forward, we got rescued by a front loader, jet ski, lived in a shelter for a little bit and for a few days. And really what it came down to was it wasn't the impact first, income second breakthrough, but it was in that shelter where we had a few hours to just really sit and reflect on what just happened. And all I could think about was, I said I was going to change, right? I said I was going to become a better version of myself. I said I was going to do these things, but I don't know how. There it was, guys. Saying I don't know what I don't know and dropping my ego was my biggest opportunity to grow. saying I don't know what I don't know and dropping my ego was the biggest opportunity for me to grow. And from there, I put time, effort, money into figuring out what are the best practices to live an ultimate life, right? To design the life you've always wanted to live. And I put effort into figuring it out. And it's helped me create a life all by design, but I never would have thought of 12 years ago, where I'm standing on stages with people like Ed Milet, people like Trent Shelton and Eric Thomas, Robert Kiyosaki, and many, many more, Tony Robbins, right? In January, I'll be speaking with John Maxwell and David Goggins. I've helped thousands upon thousands of businesses grow in sales and leadership, all working on the inside out. I've helped tens of thousands of people elevate and evolve in all these areas of life. And I say that all to tell you in the next 70 minutes or whatever we got left here, these are some tools I've given them. Now, some people didn't evolve because they were too busy being distracted during the session. Some people didn't evolve because they weren't willing to do this one thing, which was get comfortable being uncomfortable. That's where it all comes down to. See, I was super uncomfortable stepping out of my comfort zone, asking people, hey, what do you do to be the best version of you in this area, in this area? I was super uncomfortable in those times that I grew the most. And so I may tell you guys to do some things today that you may not know if you're comfortable with. I want you to do it. But there's also things I'm going to tell you that you've heard before. But are you really living it? Are you truly living it? So those tens of thousands of people that I've helped, it's all because of them, not because of me. I was just the messenger. So here I am today being the messenger. If you guys are ready to rock and roll, and let's start with leadership and see how leadership actually leads to sales. Put it into the chat. Let me see yes. Let me make sure you guys are with me, and we'll get this thing rocking, and I'll share my screen. I'm going to pull up the chat. We got let's grow, let's grow, let's grow. Let me see yes, yes, yes. All right, perfect. Remember, pens, paper. We're going to talk about actionable things. I'm not just about fluff, guys. You'll find inspiration through the energy. Remember, also, we'll talk about in sales, but energy is contagious. But we will talk about actionable things that you guys could actually do as soon as you get off this call to start expanding your sales skills, to start expanding your leadership skills. So I'm going to share my screen here with you guys. Let's see here. Okay. So the first thing is this, guys. Leadership is a lifestyle. It's not a title. I used to think it was a title, right? Like I wanted this leadership title for some reason. I don't know what it was. I'm going to take this off for a second. I don't know what it was, but maybe it was just the ego in me that wanted it, but I wanted this leadership title. And what I had to come to realization is that it's not the title, right? It's the lifestyle that you leave and that you live when nobody's watching. So understand that is not a title. This is a lifestyle. I'm gonna have to go ahead. My thing is not letting me exit out of here. There we go. All right, so let's talk about how to be a leader, right? Let's talk about these things on how to be a leader. So the first thing in order to be a leader is the L in leader, which is listen. And now that may seem simple for you guys, but here's the problem with a lot of us. We're listening to respond. We're not listening to understand. And in sales, this will change the game. But in leadership, it will change everybody's game. Listen to understand as a leader. You don't listen to respond. Now, the power in that is because of this. When you could truly understand the person across from you and understand sometimes silence is the best answer. Sometimes silence is what's needed to cultivate an emotion. Realize that listening will help you elevate in all areas as a leader. Doesn't matter if they're a low man on totem pole or wherever they're at. Be the one that listens better than anybody because you listen to understand, not listen to respond. Now, I'm still working on this with me and my wife, but obviously, once you guys nail this, your wives or your husband will absolutely appreciate it. Next is E. So the E in leader stands for Edify Habits. I could talk all day about morning routines and habits, but I'm gonna give you guys some simple things here. See, I'm a big believer that if you show me your rituals, I'll show you your future. But I also understand that it's the small habits that create the big outcomes, right? The big difference. The small hinges swing open big doors. So truly take a look at your habits. If you want to lead others, you first have to lead yourself. I'll repeat that because there's so many leaders out there that are trying to lead others, yet they can't lead themselves. So what are you doing with your habits? Right? Are you staying committed to your commitments? This is what my morning routine looks like. Take it, leave it, however you want. I'll run through it quick, but wake up 80% of the time, 5:30. Feet touch the ground, water I pound. Okay? Go into the shower, shampoo my hair, speaking gratitude. Let's talk about gratitude for a second. See, people like to speak in gratitude. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for that. Because successful people do it. But where the power comes from in gratitude, it's not about saying it, it's about feeling it. It's about activating as many senses as possible with a clear description of what it looks like. I don't want you to say 25 things you're grateful for. I want you to say one thing and feel it. And this is what you do. If you can't see it, you can't feel it, there's not a description, just stop, pause, and say it with more description. Just say it with more description. Allow that emotion of fulfillment and joy to come into your life. Okay? Then we go into affirmations. But first, I condition my hair. Triggers me for affirmations. Now, if you guys have been on the Arte calls, you heard obviously Ed talk about it. Andy might talk about it. But here's one thing that actually they haven't talked about. We talk about what you want, right? That house overlooking the Gulf, the boat, the income, right? Picture all that. But most people won't tell you. Most people won't tell you the most important thing about affirmations. See, the most important thing about affirmations is not about what you want. It's about who you need to become in order to get what you want, because you are the source, right? Those things you want are a byproduct of your values. So when you're speaking in affirmations, it's not just about what you want, but you're saying, I am somebody who is patient with my kids. I am somebody who is patient with my employees. And see a moment, this is where the power comes in. See a moment where normally you wouldn't be patient, right? Or normally you wouldn't be present. See it, picture it, have a video playing in your mind of it, and then see you make a better decision knowing that your values, your characteristics that you are trying to become is patient, is present, is value, coachable, whatever it might be. Paint the picture of who you are trying to become to get what you want, and get really descriptive with it, because the cool thing about this, it's called subconscious leaking. When those events happen, because you know what those events are, when they happen, the subconscious leak comes into your conscious mind and shows you how to react in a way that you truly want to, not from the old pattern. Okay? Now also, with it, you just heard me say, oh, shampoo my hair, and I go ahead and I do gratitude. Condition my hair, I do affirmations. What's important about that is that we have triggers in our life that can help us elevate and stay consistent with our habits. People are like, man, how do you stay consistent? Easy. I put triggers in my life I know that are going to happen every day, right? Every day my feet touch the ground, it's water I pound. I'm not going to get into why I drink water every morning. You guys should know, tons of benefits. But shampoo my hair, immediately in gratitude. It's very simple when you look at it, right? And that's what I'm trying to give you guys today, the simple things to deal with the hard shit, right? So the fact of the matter is that, like, we do things every day. Go to the same coffee pot, sit in the same chair, right? Because mind you, then I have some stillness, take 5 minutes of stillness. Then I go ahead, and when my butt touches that chair that I'm pointing at right now, you can't see, when my butt touches that chair, I immediately pick up my daily stoic, and I read my daily stoic. And as soon as I close it, it is time for me to go fill out what I call a must crush list, which I'll give you guys here later today after this call. But fill out my must crush list was help me create integration and productivity for the day. Okay. So edifying your habits is great, but when you can put triggers in there, that's the game changer. You know, growing up, obviously in my addicted household, and I was an addict, I've had triggers. You guys have triggers in your life right now. one trigger is like when I see someone call me and I don't want to talk to them, it triggers me to acting, a certain way, right? Triggers me in stress, triggers me in anxiety. And then that anxiety creates more anxiety because we create out of our state. So what are the triggers in your life? Let's see this here. I can't see your guys' chat, but I want you to put into the chat. What is one trigger that you know of that is in your life that you don't act in a way that you want to, right? You see this thing happen, you pass this. Let me give you an example. So I had a client of mine who she got in a really bad car accident, and it was on her way to work, and the person in the other car, really bad damage, lifelong damage to her. And now she still goes to work every day, and she had this fear every time she passed that road. And it was the only way to get to work. It triggered her to be depressed, anxiety, and it's over and over again. What I helped her, and I want to help you guys understand, is sometimes there's triggers we can't get away from. But what we can do is we could change the action and the thought after the trigger in order to benefit or empower us. So instead of creating anxiety or depression when she saw that, we showed her how to create gratitude, right? How to create incantations. And that changed everything for her. So figure out what are the bad triggers in your life, right? What are those triggers you can't get rid of, and how can you create an empowering habit afterwards? Then what's the stuff you do every day? Like I said, sit in a chair, shampoo, brush your teeth, that you could put a habit that you're trying to stay consistent with right afterwards. Get simple, guys. Next is authentic, right? Like we have to understand that if you want people to like look up to you and you want to lead people, you have to be authentic. Being a speaker, it's very hard to be authentic. And let me tell you why. When you're speaking, whether it's in front of 5 or 5,000 people, they have all different personalities in the room. So I remember very clearly where I'd see like an older lady and I'd try to present myself a certain way, right? So that she approves of me. Then I'd see the dude with the tattoos like me and I'd present myself another way. Then I see the guy with the suit on, I present myself another way. And in the process of trying to fit in everybody's box and trying to be something to everybody, I lost who I was. And I've realized that in the process of that, not only did I lose who I was, I lost the people that truly loved me for who I was when I was able to show it. And so where are you putting on this mask? We think Halloween's the only time we're putting on a mask. Where are you continually putting on these masks? And you are losing yourself. And most of the time, this authentic feeling comes because we don't want to be judged. Allow yourself the freedom to release judgment. Allow yourself the freedom to no longer care who judges you. When you can say, hey, how they think about me, it's not my business. And you could say, I have to authentically be me in order to help as many people as possible. You will grow massively, not internally, but externally. You will have people flock to you and says, I want to ride with you. I want to ride with you. Some of the people that I would do anything for, some people hate them. But there's so many people that love them, right? And they had to understand who they were. So I push you, I urge you, I challenge you to figure out who are you and be that. You'll lose some people along the way, but be authentically you in a world that is filled with fakes, in a world that is filled with social media, pretending. When you could be authentically you, not only do people flock to you, but that freeing moment when you know you do not care about the judgment, that is one of the most remarkable feelings you will have. Next is discipline, right? A leader has to have discipline. Oh, John, that's obvious. But how? How do we stay disciplined? How do we stay disciplined is the question. Now, I talked to you about the triggers, but how do you stay disciplined? I put meaning behind the mundane. Write that down. Meaning behind the mundane. What I mean by that is this. Guys, I don't want to wake up at that time every day. Surprise, surprise. I don't want to speak in gratitude every day. I don't want to do the things I know I need to do in order to get to where I want to go. Right? Feel me. If you're with me on that, write yes into the chat. Like there are so many days where I just do not want to do the things I know I need to do. And that's what affects us. So how do we stay disciplined? Here it is. Put meaning behind the mundane. Find these momentary meanings, realizing that your gratitude has nothing to do with your gratitude. It's a ripple effect to everything else. Right? Waking up at 5:30, whatever that is, nothing to do with waking up that early. It's a ripple effect to create everything else. But here's the kicker. When you stop relying on mood for motivation and you start relying on meaning for motivation, you win the game. You win the game. You're relying on mood for motivation. It's only 30% of the time you will take the action you know you need to take. So when the mood is there, cool, take the action. Don't tap into the meaning. But 70% of time, you are not going to have the mood to take the action that's necessary to create the results. So stop relying on mood for motivation. Start relying on meaning for motivation. Find that why that'll make you cry. And a little side tip, your first why is always a lie. First why is always a lie. Let me explain to you. Hey, tell me your why. It's my daughter. Nope, that's not it. That's not deep enough. It's got to go deeper, deeper, deeper. And then another thing is like have momentary meanings. I know like Simon Sinek talks about the big, deep-rooted why, and I'm all aboard that. But to tap into that often is pretty exhausting, right? It's exhausting to tap into it. I'm the first to admit it. So I find these momentary meanings. For instance, maybe the goal this month is to go ahead and close 5 deals because that 5 deals will help me make $50,000, and that $50,000 is going to help me buy that boat, and that boat's going to help me create those memories that I want to have in my family. And that emotion that's going to bring me is joy, fulfilled, happiness, prideful. So the momentary meanings are just as powerful as the big, deep-rooted why. What are your momentary meanings to stay consistent with the things you need to do when you don't need to do it? Tap into that and you win. Next, E is empower. Leaders empower. I'm sure you understand that. But don't be the person that is the bottleneck to your business. Don't be the bottleneck in your business. How many times I coach leaders and they're like, John, but I'm trying to keep it safe. I don't want them to take it on. And they're not going to do it right. I get it. I felt that way plenty of times. But here's the thing. Maybe what you think is right, they have a better way, right? They have a better way. And leaders, guys, they let others shine. Leaders let others shine. Empower them, right? And also, in order to elevate, you have to delegate. In order to elevate, you have to delegate. Where are you empowering people, or where are you the biggest bottleneck? Where are you holding on to something because you don't feel like it's going to get done right? Maybe what you think is right is not the best way. Allow yourself to empower others for your growth and theirs. R is relinquish and reconnect. Relinquish and reconnect. I'm talking about relationships. Look, guys, leaders don't have to be lonely. People, oh, man, get to the top, it's lonely. No, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. You're going to have a smaller circle, absolutely, but the right circle. But right now, I want you to write this down. Well, first think about it, then we'll write it down. What are the relationships that you need to relinquish, that you need to let go? I don't know if we talked about this on any of the previous calls, guys, but if you don't understand those core values, that's the first thing you need to do. But once you understand what your core values are, right, and you look at the relationships around you, and you see that they do not align, that they are what I call withdrawers of energy, withdrawers of money, withdrawers of my power. When you have withdrawers in your life and they do not align with your core values, you got to let them go. As my man Trent Shelton says, they handed you the scissors. It's okay to cut them off. Now, I'm also a big believer in setting emotional guardrails. Maybe these people you need to disconnect with, that you need to relinquish out of your life, doesn't necessarily need to be like out of your life. You can love them from afar. Set these emotional guardrails and say this: what was once acceptable is no longer acceptable. Because as a leader, if you are trying to grow and you have those people pulling you or your business down, you will never be able to expand. You are not Stretch Armstrong. You are not going to be able to expand. They will always be pulling you down. It has nothing to do with them know, right? You need to realize that your growth matters so much that you're willing to have a real conversation. And maybe that conversation hurts because it's a family member, maybe because they've been with you for so long. But you can't hold on to past memories if it's going to affect your future ones. You can't. So where do you need to relinquish some relationships? I always go back to a company and say, hey, after we're done with this, right? I say, knowing what you know today, would you enthusiastically hire or hang out with that person again? Knowing what you know today, would you enthusiastically hire or hang out with that person today? And there's a lot of people that just don't fit that list anymore. It's okay, right? We have people in our life for certain seasons, for certain reasons. We have people in our life for certain seasons, for certain reasons. Now, on the flip side, who do you want to reconnect with? Right? Maybe it's your wife, maybe it's your husband, maybe it's your kids, maybe it's some other employees. Maybe it's somebody out there that's a thought leader that you want to reconnect with. Who do you want to reconnect with? Build that tribe. Right? Julie and I were talking about it before, right? I wear a wolf pack. Why? Right? Because everybody that's a part of my tribe, right? They're a part of my wolf pack. Right? We don't quit. We're strategists. We're curious as hell. Right? We work together. Right? Like realize who you want to be around and who you're trying to become. And it's okay to relinquish certain relationships. I'm not saying you have to cut them off completely. I'm saying you can love them from afar. But as you're holding on to a relationship that is not valuable, you're not allowing the universe to come and bring you a new one that'll up-level you. Quick story. I talked to one person that's in my wedding party, besides my brother. One person. Now, most people say, oh man, that's sad. Yeah, I mean, it sucks for a little bit, right? But here's what I found out. They didn't necessarily have my back, right? Because my success shined a light. My success shined a light on their insecurities. It shined a light on them not taking the action. And because of that, what they do, they spit negativity. But I was so invested because I spent so many years with friends that they didn't even have my back. But I had to let them go a little bit. And here's the greatest part. When I released that energy, right, when I let that go, it allowed me the opportunity to create friendships with people I looked up to. The universe works like that. If you just go ahead and finally say, all right, this is not a valuable relationship anymore, and you're able to now have the opportunity plus the energy to create the relationships that will up-level you. So who do you need to relinquish and who do you need to reconnect with? Write that down and think about it. Next is S, standards and serve. Here's what I want you to write down. Poor standards equal terrible results. Poor standards equal terrible results. Good standards equal poor results. Great standards equals good results. Exceptional standards equal great results. Where do you fall under? And I'm not saying fall under when people are watching you. Another thing leaders do, they think they could just show up in the light with these high standards and create these great results. That's not where it happens. The results happen in the dark, right? When you raise your standards, you raise your results. When you raise your standards, you raise your results. Where are your standards at right now? You've heard Andy Frisella say it before, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. But seriously, identify where are your standards right now? And are they across the board the same? When I'm making decisions, I ask myself, okay, where are my standards at in this? Prime example is this. I'm working out in my garage every day by myself. Nobody's watching me. Every single day, a thought goes in my mind, don't do the 12 reps, do the 10. Don't run the miles, just run. Just run one, right? Don't go ahead and do 3 sets, just do 2. My mind trying to keep me safe, my mind trying to bring me back down, It's trying to tell me to lower my standards. But if I was around a bunch of people, my mind would be like, nope, you got to do 12. They said 12. They're watching. Nope, you got to do the 3 sets. They're watching. It's like this. If I'm sitting there doing bench presses and I got somebody looking over my shoulder and they say we're doing 15, you bet it, I'm doing 15, even if it hurts. As soon as they go get a drink of water, most of you guys will do 10 and put it away because it hurts. So your standards are low when nobody's watching you, but you try to raise it when your eyes are on you. And what you'll find out is this: what you do in the dark shows up the brightest in the light. What you do in the dark shows up the brightest in the light. If you want to take the opportunity to be a leader, create the most amount of impact and influence, and inspire others, hold your standards to a very high level when nobody's watching. So when people are watching, it's easy, it's authentic, it's organic. People see that, they feel it, they understand it, and they want that. The next part of S is serve. Guys, serve. Serve every single day. A leader adds value, make a difference. Leaders serve. They serve every day. So whenever you're in conversations, ask yourself, am I serving? Right? What am I serving today? Who am I serving today? Leaders hold themselves to a higher standard, and every day they serve. Now, I'm going to have to hit exit on this because I want to know, what do all these guys and girls have in common? Right? So let's see if I can see the chat box here. Good, I can. All right. So what do all these guys and girls have in common? Put it into the chat. I want to see what you guys think. What do all these guys and girls have in common? Overpaid prima donnas, champions. What else? What else? Athletes, champions, hard work, perseverance. What else? Got another 1 or 2 in there. Persistence. All right. Yep. So absolutely, guys, they have all that. But you know what they have better than anybody? They hold themselves to a higher standard. Yep. They're playing for the accolades of others. Absolutely. Here's the thing. They practice better than anyone. Look, Tom Brady's down 3 touchdowns in the biggest game of his life with less than 2 quarters to go, and he comes back and wins. These guys and girls are up against Goliaths, and they become the Goliath. How? Because they practice better than anyone. So now we talked about leadership. Let's talk about sales. Are you practicing like you need to in order to achieve the results that you want? So I've helped over 7,500 real estate agents in the last several years increase their conversion to 33%. You're not going to find many other people that can help real estate agents or even anything go to 33% conversion rate. It's insane. Why? There's many different factors, but one factor is this. We help them identify that they're not practicing like they need to. They're not role playing like they need to. They think they could practice on money. They get leads and they practice on money. Write this down. If you want to increase your pay, increase your role play. If you want to increase your pay, increase your role play. You have to start mastering your craft. A lot of times, the difference from income where you're at to income where you want to go, it's skill set, right? Mindset for sure, but it's the skill set. And if you're not practicing to get better, how do you expect to get better? Now, we've always heard, perfect practice makes perfect, right? Most of you guys heard that before? Throw that out the window. Like, I can't stand how people promote perfection. Because when you say perfect practice makes perfect, it puts something in your mind to say, I have to be perfect at it. No, the point of practice is to create progression. That's the point of practice. It's not perfect. Practice creates perfect. Perfect is an illusion. It is not real. So why chase something that is not real? Write her down and right here is this. Stop chasing perfection. Start chasing progression. Stop chasing perfection. Start chasing progression. And so are you willing to put in the work to role play 15, 20 minutes a day? I promise you, if you put in 15, 20 minutes a day of role play into your life, 5 days a week, you will become better at your craft and you will make more money. So these guys and girls are champions, not because they just showed up on Sunday. Maybe some of you guys have kids in here, right? I got a beautiful baby girl. Maybe some of you guys have kids in here. If your kids came to you and they said, Daddy, Mommy, I want to go ahead and I'm going to play baseball or I'm going to play football. And you said, all right, this is what you need to do. Show up on game day. You don't need to practice. Would you ever say that to your kids? Absolutely not. Right? Absolutely not. You would never say you could be the best by just showing up on game day. But yet you are trying to show up just on game day. You are just trying to show up on the sales call. So lead, we talked about, lead by example. Show up before the game starts. And that's what we'll go into right now. So one thing that I notice a lot of is when I walk around a sales room, I'll see a lot of people get on the phones and go. But what they're not seeing.
John?
Yes.
Can I just break in really quick? I'm so sorry.
Go.
I do not mean to interrupt. I just want to, can we do that quick? I know Corey put up he has a couple of polls ready to ask people. Can we do that so we can kind of find out exactly what sort of sales people are doing and go to that?
Let's roll with it. Let's do it. Yeah. So, he put it as a question, right? Because I don't know if you could.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to because it's open ended, so I'm gonna have to just excuse me. Just ask the questions and everything. Just throw it into the chat.
Perfect.
So 3 questions we have is: what industry are you in? How many people do you have working for you in your sales team? And how do you sell? Is it door to door, via email, et cetera, et cetera? So let's do that.
Perfect. And that's obviously going to help me be able to help you guys and articulate this to make it match what you guys are doing. So what industry are you in? Put it into the chat. How many salespeople do you have? I always say, how many people are you leading, right? And then what kind of sales is it? Is it on the phone? Is it door to door? Is it in a B2B? What is it?
Is it okay if they're not leading any salespeople and it's just them?
So I always say if you're leading nobody but yourself, you're leading one person.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. So you count as one.
I'm leading me.
Yep. That's one, right? That's one. I asked how many people do you lead? None. Well, you should be leading yourself. That starts with the first thing, right? So put it in there. So financial services, leading one, direct sales. When you say direct sales, what do you mean? Because there's a different direct, Kyle. I just want to make sure I'm with you, brother. Face-to-face, dialing, person to person. Awesome. So you're not doing any dialing, Kyle? It's all just face-to-face? I'm dialing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's the goal, right? Dial, then get them face-to-face. So go ahead and put that in there, guys. Copywriting, creating content. One person, myself.
Hey, John, I also just want to know, we have a couple of people in here who haven't started their business yet.
Okay.
So I don't know if they are they may have an idea of what their sales team might be comprised of, but they may not know.
That's fine. Yeah. I mean, just if you don't know how many people you lead, not a big deal. If you're in the very early stages, all good. But tell me, what kind of industry is it? And what kind of sales would it be? Once again, on the phone, face-to-face, business to business, whatever that looks like. Networking leads, so that's face-to-face. And even with networking leads, that's also going to be Facebook Messenger, right? Instagram Messenger, LinkedIn Messenger. I got some tricks for that too. That we could dive into later. So just definitely put that in there, guys, so we know. So I could definitely help you guys on that level. Commercial insurance, networking. Awesome. So, but all you guys on here, it looks like so far the first few people that put it on there, still dialing, right? I mean, face-to-face, direct. Is anybody not dialing? You're only just showing up to networking events and that's it? Which obviously,
I have a question, and I don't, maybe just to put like sort of in your pocket for later, although it might be appropriate to ask now. How do you know as a salesperson if cold calling or dialing is the right move to make versus some other means, right? So we've made the assumption, Corey and I have, for SB Pace, that cold calling is not really the right way to attract the right clients for us, but we could be wrong because neither one of us is an expert in sales.
Great question. So here's the thing, like land, air, sea, right? Land, air, sea. So here's the 5 levels of connection. Okay. So first level is email. Second level is text. Third is phone call. 4, virtual face-to-face. 5, physical face-to-face. And here's why I tell you guys that is because every time we're having a conversation, I want to move them to a next level. When I'm done with every call, we got to figure out what the next level of communication is. If I'm on email, we got to get them to another level, right? If I'm on phone, got to get them to the next level. And so that's a side note that I want you guys to understand and pay attention to. It's very easy saying that I move them to a next level of connection. Now, as far as how do I know, phone calls, it's always going to be every angle, right? What most of us do, we're like, oh, it's not going to be phone because you're scared of the phone, right? Most of the time it's our fear of like, pick up the phone, cold dialing. That scares the hell out of me. And that's uncomfortable. So I'm really good in front of people. That's the way I want to do it. And so everybody, for the most part, should have a plan of attack for each area. Dialing, right? You should have a texting, you should have email, networking, Facebook and Instagram Messenger, LinkedIn Messenger. So to answer your question, Julie, it's every angle. Every angle. There's a lot of people you can't get in front of face-to-face. How are you going to get in front of them? Got to pick up the phone and dial. You got to get over the fear of the phone. I always tell people, because that's something I always talk about, is like, I get it. Most people are scared of the phone, right? They're scared of the other end of what they could, the person's going to think about them if they say no. But I always say, like, if they say no, then what? Is your life ruined? No, like, I want you to be more fearful of what if you don't make it and take it to extra mile and get on the phone. I want you to be more fearful of that, of the what if you don't, than what if you do. And it's simple. We go back to that authenticness, right? Like just being you and realizing that this is a question I'm curious to ask and see who can answer this. What's the biggest fear in a human? Put it into the chat. What's the biggest fear in a human? You usually get the same answers, but I'm just curious. Let's see what we got. Biggest fear in a human. What do you think it is? Failure, public speaking.
You mean for John, do you mean
Yes.
for ourselves or for other?
In a human, just in general, like
just like if there was like a huge survey that was taken, what would be the number one thing that would come up?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Yep. Won't be loved, dying alone. So Kyle's kind of there, right? So let me tell you what it really is. People think it's rejection normally, right? That's usually what they think, but it's actually what that rejection creates. Disappointment. Snakes. Snakes is not it, even though I'm super scared of snakes. It's what the rejection causes, which is disappointment. Disappointment, and kind of like what Kyle says, is not being loved. Really, it's not being accepted. It's not being worthy, or not being worth it. But that fear of disappointment is so deep rooted that we will stop ourselves from putting ourselves into a situation where we could feel that way. Right? People don't go up to people at bars and talk to them because they feel like they're going to get rejected, then be disappointed. Right? You get on the phone, you get rejected. That disappointment creates, man, I knew I shouldn't have left my corporate job and started a sales company. And all this disappointment just suffocates us into lack of action. So the reason why we talk about this is because no matter what I show you here is we got to get over that mindset, which I'll bring in and wrap it around later in the call. But I just want you guys to know, like, no matter if you're a 1-person team or you're a 10-person team, this right here, what I'm about to give you, is what nobody really in the industry will teach you, no matter what industry you're in. But this is the science and the art of sales, the science and the art of sales. And it starts before you get on the call. Okay. Before you get on the call, that's when you win. So Heath Evans is a friend of mine. He played for the Patriots and for the Saints, but he won a Super Bowl with the Saints. And I said, man, why are those teams so damn good? And he said, because we won in the locker room. Because we won in the locker room. games are won in the locker room, guys. The battle is won before it starts. So this is what you need to do before you guys get into your dialing sessions, which, side note, y'all should be time blocking dialing sessions in your day. Don't just like when I have time. There needs to be dedicated, intentional time to create that dialing session.
Hey, can I ask a question, John?
Of course, go for it.
So from a dialing perspective, so dialing means essentially cold calling or calling on leads that you have, right?
Yep.
One of the two. How do you know what the right number is to pick? Like, how do I know, like, if I set a goal, right? I'm very numbers and goal oriented. How do I know that I'm hitting the right number week over week or day over day?
So it's called reverse engineering, right? So you got to figure out, what do you want? And now for those of you that are brand new, you're not going to know, okay, it's going to take me 100 dials to talk to 10 people to go ahead and get 3 set appointments. You won't know that right away. That's why it's so important to track, right? What's inspected gets respected, right? And all you leaders out there, all you salesmen, what is inspected gets respected, and they have eyes on it. So you don't know right away if you haven't really done it, but that's why you track it, right? And there's different systems out there for different industries, but you have to track it so you know, and that's how you create scalability. You create scalability by knowing what it is, but you have to go out there and you have to put the work in to understand what that looks like. And also, I need to know where the bottleneck is, right? Is it we're not calling enough people? Is it our scripting isn't good, right? Is it their scripting is good, we're setting appointments, but they're not showing up? And if we don't track those things, we can't find where that bottleneck is. Does that make sense?
100%. I literally just sent Corey a note that literally said, if I know you're going to be tracking, I'm not going to be slacking.
I love that.
100%. Yes, it makes complete sense. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's a great question, right? Because, you know, we have a few people on here that are new. And it's just putting in the reps, right? Putting in the reps. And before you get on the reps, though, let's set what we want, right? So the first W to win the game before it starts is goals, right? Like, what do you want? You know, what you focus on expands.
Yep.
You know?
I also think part of the reason that it's so important to think about sales for a lot of people in this group is that, and you know, this is kind of on Corey and I, in that we didn't give you this information in advance, John, that there's a lot of people in this academy who their business is very new. And so a lot of times when you start a new business, you're thinking to yourself, if I build it, they will come. And that is not true, right? So being able to set yourself up to build that pipeline so that you have sales is so crucial.
Yes.
And so that's key. Also, I have a question for you, if you're okay for me reading it to you.
Yeah, absolutely. That real quick though, you said if they build it, they'll come. That whole part we just did on leadership, guys, that's what you build so the opportunities come. Like, just make that really clear for you guys, that the acronym for leader, when you build that, that's when opportunities really start coming your way, and you could be really aware on how to take action on it. So I know a lot of you guys are newer business owners, so realize that your business is a product of you. You are not a product of your business, which means you have to start with that acronym leader to start leading yourself, whether you lead 1 or you lead 20. That leadership acronym is for you, so you could attract opportunities. You could create the energy in this universe to create those opportunities for you. So just kind of answering that. I love it. Like, if you build it, they will come. And by it, I mean you. So
that's so great. Thank you so much for saying that. And I'm so glad that we have this as a replay for everybody, because that's so important to be able to go back and look at what that leader acronym stands for. So thank you. That's a really, really good point, and definitely something that I'll be taking a look at as the person who is leading up the sales and marketing portion of SB Pace. So Carol has a question, and her question for you, John, is for cold calling, what is your opinion of the do not call list? Great question.
So does she mean, like, do I call them, or what do I say when they say I'm not on a do not call list?
Let's see what she says, and hopefully that she'll give us a little bit more information. I'm guessing that she means that you're not able to call them, but I'm gonna look all of the above actually is what she's saying.
Okay. So if it's a straight cold lead, right? If it's a straight cold lead. So I've once again, I've done this a lot. And some people are like, oh, it's a cold lead. They said they're not do not call list, but they actually registered for something. So if they registered for something, I'd bring it up, right? Like, don't be scared of them hanging up on you. Like, hey, I get it, but it looks like here that you're looking at some houses over here, or here you're looking at some technology. So I was just giving you a courtesy call and go that route. Now, if they didn't sign up for anything and you legit are like what I call circle prospecting, and you have all these numbers that you're dialing through, and they say I'm not on a I'm on a do not call list. The most powerful tool you have, this is for everybody, guys. Most powerful tool you have, and not just sales, but in life in general, is your perspective, right? It's your perspective. So when I have somebody say that and they're a jerk, I stand up and say, next. That's simple. I say, next opportunity, next opportunity. I'm not letting that negative bomb be even implanted in my mind, right? Like, thank you for not taking my time and my energy and allowing me to go ahead and call some more people. So it's a simple mindset shift of, if they say that, right? To me, no means next opportunity. No means next opportunity. Sometimes that no and next opportunity means ask a better question, right? Maybe it's asking a better question. Maybe it's just next opportunity. I'm going to pick up the next number and call. Right. So that's huge. Now, if you're dialing that are on a do not call list, don't call them. They're on there because they don't want to be spoken to. That's just wasting your energy. There's a way bigger chance they're going to be negative. Not saying you can't sell people in there. I've sold many unsubscribed before. So definitely not. But I don't want you wasting energy and time in that if there's another route you can go. Does that help?
Yes, it does. And she actually has a follow-up question where she's asking, and then also just so I have one more question for you in this little segment.
Cool.
She's asking if you strictly follow the rules of do not follow or do not contact.
People could be real jerks and they can try to take you to court and do all this stuff. Like, that's very far, in between that they're actually going to do that. But I say, if I have such a heavy list of do not calls, I need to get my list somewhere else. Like, you're getting a bad list if all these people are on do not call. Okay. Right. So perfect. That's what I would say. It's like, if you have, let's say 1,000 people and 700-800 of them are do not call, it's time to buy your list from somewhere else, because that's not a valid list.
Yeah.
Right. Like, if it's a small portion, burn through them. And they're like, hey, don't call me. I'm on a do not call list. All right. Next, perspective. Move on to the next one. All right. We got to look at a no through a different lens, guys. The best top salespeople, peak performers, guys making lots and lots of money, they look at a no through a different lens. That's the big game changer, right? Looking at a no through a different lens. A great book, by the way, is Go for No by Andrea Walsh. I had her on my podcast. She's a friend of mine about a year ago. I would listen to the follow-up on a podcast too, because she talks about things in the book that weren't in the book that makes the book even more powerful. But Go for No is a good book.
Okay, perfect. Great. Thank you so much. I want to give a book recommendation as well before we move on to the next question, which I have for you, which is, there's a great book. I'm curious if you've read it, John. It is called Rejection Proof. It is so amazing. Like, it literally changed my year in terms of the perspective of hearing no from people. Have you read it?
I have not, but I just wrote it down.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's a fantastic book. So Suzanne has a question for you, John, and it is, do you believe flyers are a good way of announcing a new business venture?
Is it a local business? My assumption would be yes, if it's flyers. Yes. Okay. So it's not a bad thing. What I would do is if we're looking at open up I'm curious, what is the local business, if they don't mind telling us?
So Suzanne has, if I remember correctly, it is a lawn maintenance business, but I am waiting for her to tell me in either chat or the Q&A, but I'm pretty sure it's a lawn maintenance business. Suzanne, can you drop that in for us?
So funny. So I actually owned a contracting company before I lost everything in Sandy. So while I was running the sales and marketing firm, I was also owned a contracting company where all I did was market and sales. I picked up a hammer maybe twice. Now, I used to do roofing when I was growing up. But for that company itself, how did I go ahead and be able, I only owned it for 6 months for Sandy wiped it out, but be able to have work for every single day. It's simple, right? It's just create awareness for your business, which means call your friends, call your family, post about it. But there's a whole strategy for posting, right? It's not just about your business. It's value, right? Like jab, 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 right hook from Gary Vee. So you got to understand that. So it's hitting them from all angles. Just like we talked about calling and emailing. So flyers are definitely good. But one thing you really want to do, like right now, it's so easy to build a business on Facebook Marketplace. Like the only reason I don't have a new business here in Destin, Florida, where I live for contracting is because I don't have time and I don't have the person that could run it for me as a foreman. Otherwise, I'd be making an easy 6 figures a year with my eyes closed, if not probably 6 figures every few months with a contracted company because just of Facebook Marketplace. So you got to be active on there. People are going to talk about they need lawns done. People are going to talk about they need maintenance done, whatever it is. So you got to get yourself active on Facebook Marketplace. Go to HOAs if you have HOAs in your neighborhood. Because not all HOAs cut everybody's yard. They just do like the maintenance on the side. Get in an HOA, right? Hey, can I put this ad in your newsletter or can I put it into your HOA office? So flyers are good, but you got to put them in the right spot. And here's the thing. It's like, there's never enough marketing you could do. Never enough marketing you could do. So flyers, HOAs, Facebook Marketplace, calling friends and family on your Facebook, obviously bringing it up, and just get really, really hyper focused and hyper aware that you are trying to create business and you will find more of that business. The goals that we'll talk about here in a minute, RAS, right? Reticulating activating system. Well, when you activate that RAS in your brain, all of a sudden you start seeing all these things. Ooh, opportunity for business. But you got to get hyper focused on what you want so that you can go ahead and clear out all distractions and go for it.
That's fantastic advice, because I think what so frequently people forget is, and I found myself repeating this to a client of ours over the past couple of weeks, is that you live and breathe your business. So you feel like you're talking about it and everyone sees it all the time. And that is not the case.
Not at all.
Especially when you're talking about if you're doing any type of marketing or depending on social media, right? Those logarithms are not presenting your business to everybody all of the time. So that's such great advice, John. So Suzanne has a couple of other pieces of it, pieces of information for us. The first one is that it's actual lawn mowers, not the maintenance. So that's my fault that I actually articulated that incorrectly and originally. And then she also says that it's a lawnmower sales and service with all the parts for all weather. So she's in that Minnesota, Wisconsin, North and South Dakota area where there's not only the summer, but there's the heavy winter season. Yep. And she says they do not only the mowers, but they do the repairs and they install plows on the mowers. And there's no type of business anywhere within the 3 neighboring states. So how do they take advantage of that and capitalize on what they're doing?
Oh, that's easy, right? Like to me, it's there are tons of lawn companies by you, people that are doing big. You're not going to go to the mom and pop. Right. You're not going to go to the guy that does, 10 lawns a month or 10 lawns a week. You're going to go to the guys that are running crews. You've seen their trucks before, right? You've seen their trucks before. And you are going to go to their office. You are going to call them. You are going to do a Facebook ad that only follows those types of people in your area. And you're going to start locally, hyper-focused locally, and you're going to target them. And that's the way you're going to go, right? Obviously, picking up the phone is great, but get face-to-face and let them know about the opportunity that you're presenting to them. You're not selling them, you're serving them, which I'll talk about later, but this is for everybody, guys. Get out of your minds that you're selling people. If you think you're selling people, you are not giving them value. If you think you're just selling people, then you don't believe in your product, which means you shouldn't be selling it. When you switch it and say, I am serving these people, I am not selling them. I know I have value to add to change their life, to change their business, change their financial situation, whatever it is. When you come from a place of serving and not selling, people will see that. They will feel that. They will want to work with you. But when you feel like coming from a place of selling, people will see that. People will feel that, and they won't want to work with you. So that's where you got to come from, of A, coming at you, know that you're serving, and B, go to all the local places. HOA, again, is another one. Hey, who's your lawn service? Oh, we use ABC Landscaping. You know that they have an HOA that they're cutting for, right? Which means they're probably cutting for other HOAs, which means they have probably a bunch of big trucks or probably a bunch of big crews. Like, perfect. Let's go reach out to them, right? Let's go reach out to them. So that would be my approach, is go to all those places, get comfortable being uncomfortable, get rid of that fear that I see there of that, you're starting a business and your age and you're going to invest money to start and it's not going to work. You either have to be all in or all out. You can't tippy toe. You can't tippy toe. You have to go all in, Susan, or all out. And I'm not here to tell you which one to do, but I'm here to tell you that you're either walking in faith or walking in fear. And right now, if you're walking in fear, you will not create the business that you want, because the world, the universe, is nothing but a mirror to your thoughts.
Wow.
So knowing that it's nothing but a mirror to your thoughts, you can't even see opportunities in front of you, because the fear is a wall of opportunities. The fear is the wall. You can't see it, but when you rip it away, and here's one other thing I talked about on my podcast today, stop waiting for the net to appear to jump. Stop waiting for the net to appear to jump. Jump in faith and the net shall appear. A lot of us are waiting to see results before we believe. Guess what? The results never come. Therefore, we never believe. Therefore, we just go back and retract and live an average life that you never took the chance on yourself. All because you waited for the results before you believed, and it has to be vice versa.
That's such great advice, John. And I want to ask a question, and this did not come in through the group, through the Q&A, but I know that we have a couple of people who are in attendance who are their service providers, right? Either they're selling commercial insurance, but they're selling it on a level that is so different from most commercial insurance brokers or agents, where they're really taking the time and investing into their clients and breaking down, like, not only what it is that you need, but what you have, right? It's this extraordinary service. And we also have tax preparers down here who a service, and it is completely different from other things that we see. So what is your recommendation for how they, beyond the word of mouth or cold calling that they can do, what are ways that they can branch out and get more clients?
So the easiest way to do that is there. I would say 3 pillars, right? We could talk about, Facebook ads, all the other stuff, all that, whatever. But let's talk about 3 pillars that's free. One is being very good at adding value about their services, what people are struggling with, the myths, right? Where people are losing money, where people can make more money, especially this like tax related. Putting those value adds out there without bringing up your business to get people curious, right? Get people curious. That's number one. So if you own a company that's insurance or tax or anything like that, service provider, if you're not out there on a weekly basis posting 2 to 3 things in regards of just adding value, then you're missing a huge opportunity, because it's a long game.
Can I pause you right here and say,
Yeah.
You say if you're not out there posting, are you talking posting on like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram? Like, where can you be more specific?
All of the above.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. All of the above, because certain people are just on LinkedIn. Certain people are just on Facebook. Certain people are just on Instagram. So everybody needs to see it. And it gets simple, right? I mean, like, you can go to later.com or buffer.com and you could just set up your entire month. Done. That's what I would do, and people are like, oh, how do you create content? I document. How do you create content? I document it. So on my phone, my notes section, like every day I'm like walking around and like a aha breakthrough moment, a really profound thought comes to my mind. I put it on paper and I turn that into a post. And so that's very easy to do. And then you just, pick one day out of the month or 2 days out of the month to just post it so it goes out without you even touching it. So that's number one, is getting really good at adding value in the marketplace to show people that they do need you, that you are the expert. Number two is reaching out to the local businesses that are around you and seeing how you could add value to them, right? And that's all it is. It's a value add call. Hey, tax season's coming up. I know obviously there's a lot of changes going on with, all the EIDL loans and this loan, the PPP loans. I'm here. I'm going to give you a free 30-minute consultation so I can go ahead and help you with your specific situation. How's that sound? Perfect. All right. What time do you want to set a call? Now, some of these people already have tax guys and tax girls, but you don't know what you don't know, which means they could be ready to leave. They may not be dedicated to that person. So reaching out to those local businesses to help them out and say, oh yeah, by the way, for all of your employees, we're going to run a discount of $200 off the fee, whatever it is, $100 off the fee. And so that's another tremendous way, just reaching out to them, of adding value. Do free calls, right? Then offer your services, and then offer your services if you want to do a small discount for a big company, if they have 50 people, you know what I mean? Hey, let's give you guys a heads up. All the employees, letting you guys know we have a tax guy, a tax girl, that they're going to go ahead and give you $100 off your taxes. Do it all for you. Don't risk TurboTax this year. Now is not the time. Here, everybody's doing it. Once one person, two people do it, most people do it, right? It's called the Jones effect, right? It's called the Jones effect. I'll tell you a quick story. So I got asked to go help sell CDs at a festival. This is way back. And I was like, well, I'm not about to just sell CDs for you guys. Like, they knew I could sell. They weren't going to really pay me much. I said, but this is what you need to do. I want you to go ahead and give a few bucks to probably about 10 people or so, and just have them wait in line before you go on and after you go on. Act like they're buying CDs. And what happened was 5 or 7 people were in line. People were like, whoa, what's going on over here? What's going on over here? The line started filling up. They sold out, right? They sold out all their CDs, all because of Jones effect, right? We feel like we're missing out on something if we're not in that line. We feel like we're missing out on something if we're not doing what everybody else is doing and taking the $100 off and getting that tax person or that insurance person. Does that make sense?
It does. And this is great. This is such great feedback for people, because I think there's so many people who are obviously everybody that's in the academy, they're in different places with their business, but just kind of understanding service versus product and where they are in terms of how they can I like to say market, but it's probably more on the sales part of what tactical steps can people take to make the sales, right? So this is fantastic. Thank you so much, John. This is so good. Let's keep going.
All right. Awesome. And I love the questions, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna burn through the next 15, 20 minutes or so, guys, so that we leave some more time for more questions like that. That's one of my favorite things to do is Q&A, because it gets me thinking, right? And I love it. I just talked to my coaching group about how stress is actually good for you. If you create a new meaning, right? Reframe it, because there's times where we've been stressed out before and we're like, kill it, right? The last minute, man, give it to me. I'm going to crush it. It's because you reframe that stressful situation into who you want to be, which is somebody that rises to the occasion. But then there's times where you see a bunch of stuff you have to do and that stress causes you to freak out. So it's all about reframing stress. So, whenever you put on a spot, it's all of a sudden your cortisol levels go up, which is the stress hormone. And then you're in your head. And most of the time when we're stressed out, this is totally a side note, but most of the time when we're stressed out, we stay in our head and we don't go to our body. And the problem with that is stress, the cortisol levels only last a few seconds, but yet the way you think about it can last minutes, right? Or hours. So if you're in here for a few seconds, you got to immediately go to your body and tap in to centering yourself so you could deal with that stress on a higher level. So side note, but let's dive into the 5 W's to win the game before it starts. So first is the what? The goals. RES, we talked about it before. You have to set a goal before you dial, or before you go knocking, or before you're at the networking event. Set the goal, because your subconscious mind will leak. We talked about it earlier, will leak to go ahead and create that endorphin, right? To create that happy chemical release.
Hey,
so
John,
John,
I'm sorry. I want to ask a question, because I feel like, and I apologize in advance for the question because I'm not sure that I'll articulate it well, but I feel like one of the things that people see right now is, hey, I've started a new business, or I'm going to, or I have this business. And there are these companies, there are these experiences out there where people are able to just like bam, 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 without really doing any true sales. They're like hitting like these like $1 million in revenue, legit. Like these examples exist, right? You and I both know they exist, and we know they're not normal. But for most people who are not experienced in this industry, they don't know that that's not normal. So there are, I think, a lot of people who build businesses or start businesses without thinking about the amount of time that sales takes. Like sales is a full-time job, full-time. And I'm just kind of curious, or what I would love, it's not so much curiosity as it is that if you could talk just a little bit about when, like, not only the sales process, but that it's not like that $1 million sales for having this great, brilliant idea. That's not normal. That doesn't happen to everybody, right? So the importance of understanding how to approach sales and how to have a really good process in place.
Yeah. So it's a little bit different for each industry, right? As far as a process goes. But some key components that you need to realize is first, and write this down, instant gratification creates long-term regret. Instant gratification creates long-term regret. And what I mean by that is, I mean, you can look at it, right? You eat the donut, instantly gratified, but you keep eating them and you'll see the weight put on, and that's that long-term regret. You know, instant gratification is given into a temptation. Long-term regret is what it looks like afterwards. And same with our business. We truly want this instant gratification because that's the world we live in, right? Like Uber Eats, you get on a bird scooter, you could go around like all these different cities. But that's not the way businesses work. And those that do work that way, 80%, not all of them, 80%, what happens? Boo! They crash, they lose all their money, right? Why do so many lottery winners who make all this money go bankrupt and broke within less than 5 years? It's because they didn't become the person they needed to become to produce the results that creates forever lasting change. So you got to become that person that embraces the suck sometimes. You got to become the person that says, I'm falling in love with the process. And the other thing is unattach yourself from the outcome. Unattach yourself from the outcome and just attach yourself to the small brick by brick, I call it. Brick by brick pieces you got to put together. Now, your process may be different from one industry to the next, but it's simple, right? It's simple to where you look at it and you say, this is a long-term game, but it starts today and every day. What I mean is that every day, are you talking about your business? Every day, are you having your clients talk about your business? Every day, are you putting yourself out there, letting people know what you do? Not saying, come work with me, but saying, this is what I do in a roundabout way, right? Adding value, but not saying, and by the way, if you want to coach with me, go to johnmarrone.com, right? No, it's just adding value, right? What we always talk about like in coaching world, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. But for those of you guys that want to get into a business and want to grow it fast and want to get that $1 million deal right away, it's just me being blunt, it's very hard, right? It's very hard. And I don't want you to set yourself up for this, like, if it's not done tomorrow, you know what I mean? I'm going to go in depression, shame, guilt. Be ready and willing for delayed gratification. Be ready and willing to create follow-up. I always say, if you want FU money, you got to have good follow-up. If you want FU money, you got to have good follow-up. And I always act when I'm talking to somebody, like, this is the only time I get to talk to them. So I'm going to do my best to push, which we'll talk about, like the real, how you really get somebody to take action. So I'll talk about that in a second, Julie, as far as like one key thing or two key things to get people to really, really see value in what you do, which I'll talk about that here in a second. But that's the thing, man, like, get rid of the instant gratification. That creates long-term regret. Embrace the suck sometimes, fall in love with the process, and be okay with that delayed gratification, and realize that a perfect Like success happens outside of a perfect plan. Success happens outside of a perfect plan. So no matter how perfect your plan may look going into your business, Mike Tyson says it, right? Everyone's got a plan till they get punched in the face. Be ready. You're going to get punched in the face. But also be ready, because if you're really prepared mentally, you can go to 12 rounds. Does that help, Julie?
It does. Thank you so much. Yes, it does.
Absolutely. All right, perfect. So let's kind of breeze through this real quick, guys. So we talk about before the game starts. You got your goals in front of you, the why, right? We talked about that earlier, right? You got to have that why in front of you. Going back to the process, why are you going to step in a ring with Tyson if there's not a good enough reason, right? Like, you're not. So why are you going to get rejected over and over and over again? Expect you're going to get rejected. Why are you going to face the fear of disappointment? Because you got to have a strong enough meaning behind it. The next thing is sales journal. Go back to sports. On Sunday, NFL plays. On Monday, they watch film. What film are you watching? What film are you watching? So what I tell all my guys, I don't care what industry you're in, is take notes on what you did well, what you did bad. Man, my opening line wasn't good. I didn't project any tonality. I didn't close. But hey, I also did this very well, did that very well. So every Monday, you have a playbook meeting. Whether it's just you, that's fine. Open up your playbook. Reflection. The law of reflection creates massive intention going forward. Too many of people, probably you guys on the call, are not reflecting like you need to. Every Sunday, I have all my clients fill out this form. It's called a weekly reflection and progression. And the reason I have them do that is because a lot of times we go into the next week not realizing what we didn't do well the week prior. And then it's this Groundhog Day week. Same shit happens. So for you guys, for that sales journal, that's your reflection to get progression. Next is state and energy, right? Your wow. Before I get on a call, before I meet somebody, you got to have energy. Energy is contagious and it creates engagement. Nobody wants to work with somebody that talks like this and how's it going? I'm John. I got this service over here. Nobody wants to work with that person, right? You want to create engagement. You get them connected through your contagious energy. Get the energy. Whatever that is for you, write this down. We create out of our state. So now if I'm like writing content or I'm doing deep focus, I'm not high energy, right? I bring my state down. But if I know I'm about to talk to you guys for 2 hours, you better believe I listen to pumped up music, right? I'm getting myself up. I'm standing up right now. And that's the other thing. If you're dialing sitting down, you are going to hurt your results. You cannot have good tonality. You cannot have great empathy if you are sitting down. Your feet need to be up, grounded. Your posture needs to be up. And there's actually a study that shows that if you stand in a Superman pose, 18% better tonality and more confidence. So Superman pose, when you call, that's fine. You want to do that, but you got to be standing up. Next is winning. What I mean by that is confidence. Got to have confidence. And how do you create confidence? You practice, like we talked about before. But here's the kicker. Please write this down. This is so important. Conviction creates conversion. If you give me Julie, who maybe has no skill at all, but man, she is convicted that she could serve you, she could help you.
Wait,
Carol.
Wait, did you just say I have no skill?
I'm just throwing a scenario out.
Oh, okay.
This isn't real.
This is an example.
Yes, it's an example. Okay. But I do want to hear your skill. That'd be awesome. So this is an example. Then I have Carol, who has high skill, but she doesn't really believe and have conviction in her product. I'm going to take Julie every day of the week. I want someone with conviction because conviction creates conversion. So you create conviction by getting really good. So you're not thinking about the next question to ask, right? Even people who speak on stage, you see they're thinking about the next thing to say. Therefore, their energy is low. Therefore, they can't have a conversation, right? I'm sure maybe Julie's experienced that in the last several weeks where she'll come and ask a question and the guy or girl falls off track and doesn't know where to go because they don't have conviction about what they're speaking about, because they don't have confidence, because they haven't done this over and over and over, repetition. So you got to get really good by practicing and then having conviction that you could help that person. Okay. We talked about this. You're not selling, you are serving. Another thing that we'll touch on, talk about process, right, Julie? Talked about that. So most of the time, the best answer is a question. In sales, another writer downer. I told you guys to write down a few things today. This is like money making tip right here. Money making tip 101. Your income is directly proportionate to the quality of questions you ask your clients or prospects. Your income is directly proportionate to the quality of questions you ask your clients or prospects. And on the flip side, your quality of life is directly proportionate to the quality of questions you ask yourself, right? So you want to make a lot of money, ask better questions. I have it on my wrist. Oh no, this is not this one. This one says your habits create your future. I have another wristband that says ask better questions, get better results. This is the process. The person doing the telling is the person doing the selling. You do not want to be the one telling. You want to be asking questions so they tell you. And here's the other part of the process, Julie. This is the other part, right? So you got questions equal income, right? And this is the big game changer right here. Try to go 3 whys deep for every what. The only reason why humans make decisions, pain or pleasure. That's it. Pain or pleasure. Their pain isn't, I just need someone to go ahead and help me with my taxes. I don't have a tax girl. I have a tax guy. That's not the pain. The pain is way deeper than that. So for every what? So tell me, why are you looking to do this? Well, I need to do it because of this. Don't move on. Say, interesting. Tell me more about that. Tell me about your current situation. Tell me about your current situation. Tell me more about that. And what else? Why is that important to you? All these questions down here are so phenomenal to get the person to open up. And if they don't, you give them an example of an A/B question, right? So what do you think, a 3 or 4 bedroom? Those are in real estate. For those of you not, so what do you think? And you want this package or that package, right? Ask an A/B question to get them to open up. But these phrases down here will get them to open up. Tell me about your current situation. What else? So why is that important to you? And what would that mean? Or what would that do for you? Tell me a little bit more about that. My daughter now, she's like 3.5. Whenever she doesn't want to go to sleep, we'll like say something and she's like, tell me more about that. Because she knows that we will open up and start talking about whatever the hell it is that we're talking about. It could be about Peppa Pig. Peppa Pig's not on right now.
That's amazing.
Tell me more about that. It's like,
you know what I use, and it's probably the equivalent, is use more words. I say that all the time to people. Use more words. Yeah. Because I'm like, I want to know more before I say anything. And I'm not really sure where you're going. So I'm just like, use more words.
Yep. And I mean, another way about it, right? Is like, tell me what you mean. Right?
Yeah.
Dive a little deeper.
Great.
I love it. But yeah, so my daughter knows, and she's 3.5 and she gets it, right? She knows if I say this, mommy and daddy speak more, mommy and daddy speak more, I don't have to go to sleep. So this is the process right here, right? So it's having that conviction, go 3 whys deep for every what, ask better questions to get better results. And you talked about something before about if you build it, they'll come. So here's the thing about closing. No matter how good you do on a call, how good you do face-to-face, a lot of people still suck at closing. And it's because they don't have that confidence. But closing is not a technique. It's an attitude built through confidence. It's an attitude. Now, there are many techniques. We could talk all day about the techniques. But what makes a closer is their confidence. So if you build it, they will close. That's your confidence. If you build the confidence, you build the conviction, they will close. So guys, in the chat, let me know if you guys are getting value right now. Let me know if you guys are getting value in the chat.
So
we're coming to a
John, can we talk more about that? Like the whole closing process, right? Because that's intimidating. And I'll just say this, right? For the benefit of everybody who's in the group and feels like, they're the only ones who have trouble closing, right? So recently, Corey and I had this opportunity for a really like a great client, new client, and somebody that we've known for a while who really who they need help with a growth strategy. And the person that I ended up dealing with is he's the head of the company. So he owns the company, but he's also their main sales guy. And when you're a small company, that's not uncommon. And so he's normally the person who's actually doing the selling. And now in our instance, he's the buyer and I'm the seller. And I'm so aware that he's the seller that I become hyper paranoid and aware of every word that's leaving my mouth. And I think I shared with Corey, and I'm pretty sure that he's the only person I shared this with, that so it's this long. We recognize that our sales process is multiple calls. We're not going to close them on the first call. And so, and we're okay with that. It's actually months for us. It's like a 4-month sales process for us typically, right? From when we first engage to when we get them to say, send me an invoice. It's a 3 to 4 month process. And we're on the tail end of this 3 to 4 month process. And he's talking about a very real situation. This prospective customer client is talking about this very real situation where he's concerned about having the money to pay us. And I say something where I'm being sincere in that, it's just Corey and I'm being sincere in that, well, I know that I could legit do anything I wanted with the price. And Corey be like, hey, congratulations, you made a sale. I also know that I don't want to be taking a negative loss, which we've both worked with people before who are giving away their shit for free. And we don't want to be basically cutting it to nothing. And so when he offers up this situation, this prospective client of, well, I'm not really sure if X, I say, well, I can offer you Y. And then I get uncomfortable and I follow it up with, and guys, this is a real situation. This happened last week. I offered up with, Corey's probably going to punch me in the face for offering this. And the guy, because he's a salesperson, he says, don't do that to me. Don't sell me. Don't be like that. We're friends. You don't need to do that. You don't need to make it seem like you're doing me a favor. And I was so embarrassed. And I know I told Corey, like, I'm mortified that this happened because that's not what I was trying to do. I was legit being like, I don't know if my business partner is okay with this, like, deep of a discount or this sales structure, whichever one it was, but it becomes this real scenario where you want to be authentic, but you also don't want to be a salesy, right?
That comes back to, do you feel like you're actually serving them?
Yes. 100% I do. Yes.
Then if that's the case, right, you have to play it in your head. Like, I'm serving this dude. I'm serving, like, he's going to have to take it or leave it because that I'm putting in that much of serving him, right? That's just the way it is. So when it comes down to your close, here's one thing I would say, it's all about the attitude, right? And just go in for it. It still doesn't matter if the value wasn't presented. See, money is only an objection when value isn't there, right? That's the big thing. When there's not enough value, that's when money becomes the objection. So if there's a change of like, oh, bring down the price, whatever it is. So in the absence of value, money becomes the objection. So maybe Julius needed to do a little bit better job of adding value of what it's going to look like, or adding value of the process or the outcome, whatever that is. So I always say, man, if they ask me for a price reduction, some people are just always going to do that. You got to stand your ground. But in the absence of value, money becomes the objection. So know that maybe you just need to do a little bit more value adding. But then it just comes down to, look, like it's simple. You have to have a business. And if you're talking to somebody that has a business, they get it. And instead of saying, oh, he's going to punch you in the face, you get it, right? Like, I don't even know if he's going to agree with it. But guys, no matter who you are, if you have a partner whatever it might be. If you're speaking to somebody, more than like when you say that, they know, and that's turning them off.
Yeah.
Right? That's turning them off. So I use transitions, guys. When I close, I use transitions. So, hey, why don't we do this? Let's go ahead. Let's get this thing cranking. Da, 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 da. And I get rid of the objection. I also say a lot. You probably heard me. Does that make sense? Wouldn't you agree? That sound fair?
It does, but it actually brought another question to mind, which is, do you ever, as a sales expert, offer different advice when it comes to closing to women versus men?
No, I don't know. There's no difference, right? Like, even people with an accent, people are like, oh, I have an accent, and it's not going to help me. It's actually, studies have showed, it actually helps you, doesn't hurt you. Do I give different advice? Absolutely not. I've never, and if there is somebody that gives different advice, I'd love to hear why. But for me, there is no difference, right? You're a human, right? Yeah, you have a different personality than the next person, but it could be a girl, doesn't be a guy. We all have different personality types. We all have different needs. But no, there's no difference.
Yeah, that's great, because what I have found has been my single biggest, and I'm using air quotes, and you can't see me right now, right? It's John that you can say. My single biggest air quote sales weapon has been that disclosure of honesty and transparency, which
Yes.
I feel like sometimes the second you say it, people think that it no longer exists. But I'm like, look, here's the deal, right? So when I'm dealing with this same person who is like, oh, don't do that to me, like, don't sell me, when I'm like, Corey's gonna punch me in the face, and I'm like, but when I change that conversation to be about, here's the reality of the situation, and here's what we're willing to do, and you're being completely authentic, people are so much more, my experience has been that people are so much more in tune with that they are willing to, they want to make the sale with you, they want to work with you if what you're offering is of value, and if they see the value.
And I just want to go on record real quick that I've never threatened to punch Julie in the face.
That is true.
Absolutely, Julie. So, what you got to realize is that also when I say these little, they're called Sullivan nods in person, which guys use these, especially face to face. Like, does that sound good? We have mirror neurons in our brain where when you're face to face with somebody and you do this, it is hard for them to go against human nature and not do it back to you. And when I have that, yeah, it sounds good. Yeah, that makes sense. When I say, hey, boom, I ask for the business, we've already built what we call yes momentum. So it helps to close way more than you think. But when it comes down to it, authenticity, transparency, that's what creates the sale. When I say conviction creates conversion, the reason why, like, you've seen me speak for the last 90 minutes or so, right? Like, I have conviction with what I say. And because I have conviction with what I say, you guys and girls on here hopefully will be taking action on some of the stuff I said. If I gave you the same exact presentation and I had no conviction, you probably won't take action. So, Julie, it's all about, are you speaking in a good enough conviction that this can serve them? And if that's the case, it's very hard for someone to say no. But like you said, being transparent, if that's your weapon that always works, always use it. Right? Like, always use it. Never get away from being honest, because that's only going to hinder your results. It's also going to create a pattern, right? Because if you say, oh, Corey's going to punch my face, and you say it once, you'll probably say it twice, probably say it 3 times. And it just becomes this pattern. So for anybody that's really like, man, I'm scared to close, that's because you don't believe that what you have is of good enough value. Build that value and that conviction that it is good enough, and you'll think they're crazy for not working with you. Now, when I close people on my coaching, like, I'll be honest, really, like, I straight up tell them, like, look, we can help you evolve in every area of life, right? There's no doubt about it. You look at all the testimonials, whatever the case might be. But it comes down to, like, are you willing to put in the work? I turn it on them. Yeah, I am. All right, then let's just do this. Let's get this thing going, and let's get our first call.
Oh, that's such a great point. The accountability part of it, where, like, we've worked with people on our end where it's, people that they want to get XYZ done, but it's like, are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to, because you're paying me to do my work. But if you're not going to do your work, then this is going to fall flat on his face. So that's a great point. I want to ask one question that came in from Carol, and this is going to be about the tools. So she was asking about the app that you were talking about that does the automatic posts, and what was that again? And if you can get into that, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, so you could use Buffer or Later. Buffer goes to all platforms. Later does as well. Later does like a few other things too. I think it also does Instagram stories. For me, that's organically happening. So Later is too confusing for me to use. Buffer is a very simple, goes to Facebook, goes to LinkedIn, goes to Instagram, and done. Now, I don't really use it as often as I should, to be honest with you. But I do use it for LinkedIn. And my raising my hand here, biggest thing is once I use it and like my 10 posts are up, I need to start doing a better job of redoing another 10 posts. So that's one advice I'd give you is when you set it, make sure it's like ongoing in your calendar every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, and you don't miss it. Because if you're like, I'll get to it later, and you never get to it, and you never look at that platform, like I don't ever look at LinkedIn, and you're like, oh, I haven't posted in like 5 weeks, right? Because I said I'll get to it later, but I'm never on that platform. Unlike Facebook, where if I don't post to it today, I'm looking at it tomorrow, right? So always make sure that you're always going back and looking at it, but Buffer or Later.
Okay, yeah, and we use and Nicole, if you want to chime in. I know that we use Hootsuite, and I don't even know what that does, but I know that's something we use. And then something that we just started using was Repurpose.io, which for like our podcasts and stuff, it's just spits it out to everything.
Yeah. So my podcast, I go through Libsyn. Hootsuite works really well as well.
I like it.
Yeah, it works well. And in the end, it's just like, but all those things work, right? You just got to put that in there. But yeah, Hootsuite works well. And for my podcast, I've been doing Headliner just to go ahead and it automatically takes a 60-second clip and sends it to me, and I can send it out to everywhere. So those are the two I use, and Hootsuite's another one. So Hootsuite's been around probably longer than both of them. But I personally use Buffer when I use it. So let's kind of go through really quick here. Because I know we got 15 minutes. I want to first off put this up here. So if you guys got value, go ahead and go on YouTube, go on Instagram, and please follow me. I provide value on a daily basis, or at least some videos of my daughter. So there's some kind of entertainment. But in all reality, I give away a lot of free content on there. So if you're just looking to go ahead and connect and get some good, valuable content, not just what is going on in the political stuff and pandemic stuff, and really want to get some good, positive value, at Real John Marrone on Instagram, on YouTube, you go up John Marrone, and then on Facebook, John Marrone. And I have my growth expert page and my personal page, but go ahead and do that. And then my podcast, it's on Spotify, Google, it's on Apple, it's all over the place. It's called Power of Progression. Power of Progression. I've had some phenomenal guests on: Trent Shelton, Eric Thomas, Hal Elrod. The list goes on. And then I have my own episodes as well. So if you guys got value today, Instagram at Real John Marrone, YouTube John Marrone, and then Facebook John Marrone, and then Power of Progression. And then last but not least, before we end, I got one more slide after this. I talked about my productivity sheets, right? Every week, I go ahead and I have this weekly progression I fill out so I can be more intentional and integrate my life. And then every day I have this, what I call must crush list, which helps me integrate on a daily basis to stay more quote unquote balanced, but create massive productivity. So if you want that, text GROW, GROW, to 732-838-5006. So it's GROW to 732-838-5006. Text that. It'll text you a bunch of things back. You also ask for your email. Now I'm giving away a free clarity calls, so some breakthrough calls for you guys. So you also get a link to go ahead and book a call with me if you're interested. So definitely go ahead and take advantage of it. Only doing a few just because of my time. I have 7 speaking engagements coming up in January already, plus all the coaching clients. So if you're interested, text GROW to that number. And I'm going to end with this because this is something super important. So this is what I call the success and progression formula. And this is life in general, but will help you elevate your sales to a whole new game. So let's get on the chat here too, because I want you guys to be engaged on this. So if we have negative words that we say to ourselves, we have negative thoughts, is our beliefs and our confidence higher or lower? Put it into the chat. It's maybe silly, but I really just want you guys to play it out with me. So higher or lower if our words and our thoughts are disempowering or negative to ourselves? Lower, lower, lower. So now if our belief and our confidence is lower, where's our action? Is our action more or less? So action more or less if our belief and confidence is low. Less, 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 right? Now, if our action is less, right? We don't have that much action. Are our results higher or lower? Higher or lower results if we have less action? Lower, right? Now, here's what happens. We have lower results. It feeds the thoughts and the words to ourselves even more disempowering. And then our belief goes down even more, and our action goes down even more, and our results go down even more. And so many of us are trying to fix this part right here, the action part, right? Or maybe even the belief part. But what you're not doing is starting with the foundation, the root, which is what are you saying to yourself? What are the thoughts that you're having that are going to produce a higher confidence, more belief that you can do it? Because when that happens, all of a sudden, I got more belief. You take more action. You take more action, you get more results. And it's beautiful because when you get more results, the words and the thoughts that you have are more empowering, and you start this beautiful cycle. So I don't know where you're at right now with your words and your thoughts. I don't even know where you're at with your results right now. But if you backtrack and look, I guarantee you it's all starting with the words and thoughts that you are creating, that you are thinking, that you are saying. And then that goes into a bad belief, less action, lower results. And all it does is feed more negativity. So let's create a law of thought. Let's create an awareness that the words and the thoughts that we say dictate our beliefs and our confidence, that transition us into massive action that create the results that we want. And once you understand that, you regain your power. And the last thing I'll leave you guys here, because we have 10 minutes, I want to give some time for Q&A, is this. You guys heard my story, right? I know everybody on here has a story. I don't know what your story is, but everybody on here has a story. But the problem with my story was I was not even writing it. I wasn't even the one writing it. I had my parents writing a chapter. I had this friend writing a chapter, that person writing a chapter. And you have to honestly ask yourself, the story that you are writing, the legacy that you're going to leave, who is writing the story? Is it the people that doubted you? Are they dictating your habits? Is it the thing that happened to you that really, really took a toll on you? The story that you are writing most of the time, guys, until you decide to stand up, it's not even in your hands. The pen is not even in your hands. So as you're walking through the rest of your life, you have to ask yourself, who's writing the story of my life? And if you look around and you realize that pen keeps getting passed around, and as soon as you grab it, someone else takes it. Until the moment you stand up and said, nobody's taking the pen from me. I'm writing my story. I'm living my legacy so I could leave a legacy. I'm putting pen to paper every day with progression and not letting anybody else write the story of my life. And you truly, truly take honor and pride in that. You finally get your power back. And when you finally do that, sales, leadership, all that stuff just comes into play. But the most important part, guys, is right now, grab that pen back from whoever is writing your story. Never, never allow anybody else to write that story for you, and start writing it today, because it starts and it ends with you. And I'm just so grateful that hopefully I had an opportunity to be a part of this chapter, and I get to read the rest of it. So thank you guys. I appreciate every single one of you guys for jumping on. Write that story. I mean, I'm so excited for you guys to start it. But please, we got 7 or 8 minutes. Let's open this thing up for a Q&A.
Yeah, let's do some Q&A because this was great. Thank you so much,
for
John.
sure.
I love this.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
There's got to be some questions out there from somebody.
Yeah, there has to be. So, and it doesn't have to be with leadership. It could be, with something outside of that. you know, I've had the honor of coaching many people with many different stories and many different situations. So whatever you guys throw out at me, if I don't have an answer, I'll be completely transparent with you. But I promise you, we'll get you some kind of resource or something. But go ahead. Where's your struggle?
I'll jump in. So, well, here we go. I'll let Kyle jump in. How much time do you spend on cold prospects relationship wise? How much is too much?
Yeah, so it's a little bit different for me now. I'm an attract, not chase model as of right now. And those who do more cold, I'm hiring out messengers for that, right? So I'm hiring out VAs to do messengers. So I won't be doing a lot of the cold stuff. And the attract, not chase model works for me because of the value I add and people reach out to me. But there's never too much time unless it's taking you away from the time of people who are actually interested. Right. So I would time block of like, these are my SOI, right? This is my sphere. I time block. Here's my follow-up hour. And here's my cold prospecting hour. One tool and one tip I'll give you guys. I got a lot of people on my podcast and I got a lot of opportunities for my coaching and for speaking, for going ahead and creating videos and sending it directly to those people. So what I'll do is I'll get on here on Instagram, right? First off, if I see somebody I want to work with or somebody I want to be on, whatever it is, I screenshot their profile. If like I'm busy and I can't do a video right now, screenshot their profile and I drop it into an album that says opportunities. And I go back and I have an hour, whatever it might be throughout the week. And I go through that and I'll send a video, right? And say, hey, love it. What you're doing over there on Instagram, speak value, actually speak to them, not just about me. And then I go ahead and just try to create a relationship, right? I'm not trying to sell them. I'm just letting them know I love what they do. And I love the opportunity to have a conversation and see if there's any way I could add value to you. But I don't do it like, hey, how's it going? This is John. Like, I am very high energy. And the reason why is because energy is contagious. But also 80% of the people that reached back out to me said this, man, I get a lot of messages, never really video messages, but never that high of energy. And I just need to hear more about you. I mean, that's how I connected with Lisa Bilyeu, right? So Lisa Bilyeu is Tom Bilyeu's wife, Impact Theory and Quest Nutrition. And then Emily Frisella and I met outside of there, but I videoed her. There's so many people that I've connected with all because of that. So that's a side tip. So there's not too much time you could do. Also on LinkedIn, you could do it. Now you could do the voice messages, but they're starting to become like people all over the place are doing them and they're not valuable. So get on video. Don't be shy. If you send out 50 of them and create 2 new relationships that turn into 2 new opportunities, worth your time.
Yeah, that's great advice. Cause I think the key to that with the video messages is the authenticity, right? Where you can get on and you can share this message and you connect with somebody. So being able to connect with Lisa or Emily, or even just, a Carol or a Kyle or a Sean is that it's this authentic message. And it's not necessarily about the sell. It's about the connection and building the relationship.
I love you said that because I want you guys to write something down because this is how I built my business, but I help others. And it's facilitate the conversation that creates the conversion. Facilitate the relationship that creates the sale, right? So I'm always trying to facilitate the conversation how to create a conversion. I'm always trying to facilitate the relationship that converts into a sale. So if your mind is that way versus sell, people are going to want to work with you. And guess what? Like, how many times I've reached out to people and I was like, all right, I'm gonna build a relationship, then I'll sell them. I'm like, I just want to be friends with this dude. I just want to be friends with her. I don't care about selling them. Like, I want to go ahead and connect at a deeper level. Or I'm like, I know they can't afford it, but I truly want to help them. So it's just an opportunity all over the place when you do that.
Yep, that makes sense. Thanks.
Absolutely. So what else? Corey, do you have something else?
No, I think that's it. I mean, we're hitting the end of the session tonight. So appreciate that. And I appreciate everybody for joining and all of the questions and interaction and all that. It's been great for sure.
It has. And one quick just reminder is that we are now off until I want to say it is like the 7th of January, right?
Sounds correct. Yeah.
That might be the exact date, but I think that's correct. So the 7th of January. So we have like a 2-week break. It's hard to believe that we have the next 2 weeks off. So we're not back together again for 3 weeks, but the 7th of January is when we come back. And this was exceptional.
Actually, it's the 6th, but
The 6th? Okay.
Yeah.
This was exceptional. Thank you so much, John, for coming in and talking to us about all of these important sales features or in approaches and tactics. And if anyone is interested in reaching out to John, tell them how they can find you.
Yeah. So Instagram, I answer all my DMs personally. So at real John Marrone, you can probably see it right here too on my screen. It kind of cuts it off. But definitely go ahead and follow me. But most importantly, reach out to me. I want to hear your story. I want to see how I can help you, how there's any way I can serve you or add value to you. So go ahead, Instagram at Real John Marrone, my podcast, so you can get constant content on a weekly basis. Power of Progression. Also, if you text that number I gave you, once again, you'll get the documents tomorrow, but you also have an opportunity to jump on a free 30-minute call with me if you're looking to go ahead and evolve in all areas. So I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm excited to get to know some of the people that have jumped on today and taken the next step.
Great. Thank you so much, John. This was fantastic. And we really appreciate that you gave your time so generously to everybody in the group.
Absolutely. My pleasure, guys. Thank you so much. Have an
Thanks,
amazing
John.
holiday, and go crush it. Keep creating an ultimate version of you, and start writing that story.